I'm okay with the logo being updated because, as you see, my Bacchus could look kind of evil, whereas the new one, he's a happy drunk. Mary Richardson and Tammy came to me to do this about 10 years ago when Rouge and Blanc first started up. The origin of the logo began as a restaurant engraving from the 1800s, so it was very much like, almost like scratchboard, very fine line. And I needed to simplify it, make it more graphic. You know, I'm basing it on the god Dionysus or Bacchus. So he had a good side and a slightly bad side, you know, and it's just like all the effects of, you know, drinking. So I think that the new logo is a much more approachable logo, much more human. I was glad to find out that it was a former student that did it, especially Chris.
When I was approached about redoing the logo, there really was no idea what they wanted. They just really wanted to see what could be done with the current logo and how it could be changed up. Marty always stressed contrast, you know, light to dark. And in the original logo, there's a lot of that. There's varying shadow areas and then there's bright areas. Very simply communicated, but very effective. And I wanted to do a variation of that with a lot of detail, but still it's broken down into simple shapes. I have been itching for years to do a logo of some sort. I wanted to do it with a scratch board. When this project kind of came up, I looked at it and said, this would be perfect. A scratch board lends itself beautifully to a wine label. That type of artwork, you almost expect to see it in association with wine, old world things. So I took that upon myself as this was going to be the time I was going to try it. The creative process for the logo began with taking the old logo and kind of deconstructing it, finding the elements that were really necessary that needed to be kept, and then some other areas that we might want to update or add to it. Areas here where with the grapes and like a corona of leaves around the Bacchus. The horns were definitely something I wanted to make sure were added to give that fawn type of personality. The pointed ears were also from the old logo. I wanted to make sure those stayed. And then finally we transfer from the paper to the clay board, and that's when we begin the inking and going back in and cleaning up with the knives, scraping away different parts of it that we need, and adding the extra details that you see now in the finished project.
He kind of went the reverse of the direction I went. I went for simplification. He started out with complexity and then simplified from there. And I think the work with the shading is just phenomenal.
As a patron, I always enjoyed going to Rouge Blanc, and to get to do the logo would be great. Knowing that Marty had done the logo also kind of add a little extra to it. It's a real pleasure to work on anything for Rouge Blanc.